What is it? We still got them 3 connections?
I mean, they all getting on my nerves right now.
They all
Getting on my nerves right now, bro. So it's like
that was the most truthful statement right there, but
honestly, this is exactly what I needed because I needed to see them in this type of element.
Am I the only one questioning why certain people are still in this process? Because at the end of the day, Deanna doesn't have a romantic connection with anyone. She really doesn't. I think she was kept because the producers had to get rid of Eddie. Eddie was her connection, and Cisco. But sadly with Cisco, I think the moment she realized he didn't have a job, this is why she ended things with him. I wouldn't be surprised if she's the next girl dumped. I really wouldn't. And then that Sahara situation with Jay and Kiara wasn't necessary. It really wasn't. I don't get why she's allowing herself to be a pawn. Maybe this is the only way that they've decided to keep her on the show, by making her the toxic person who moves from couple to couple to couple. And Cam needs to make a decision. He really does, because the 3 women that he's in a connection with are totally different people. And so it doesn't make sense how he can find something that he likes about every single one. His argument with Angie, yes, it had merit, but still at the same time, I'm side-eyeing him because it looks like he's looking for a way to sort of upset someone so that they can break things off with him. He doesn't want to be the one who breaks up with people. So I can't wait to see who the bottom 2 are. My money is on Angie and on Deanna, and I have a feeling Deanna is the one who's going to go home. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Ready to Love, Season 10, Episode 9. This week, the guys meet up in the vault with Tommy to sort of hear the latest sort of task. You have Hussein saying, you know, he really is looking forward to this meeting because the girls were worried and he was in the bottom 2. So he wants to pick Tommy's brain and see how he can sort of get himself out of trouble. They guys all meet up. Tommy reveals that the task for this week is they're going on a vacation. Sorry, not vacation. And he reveals that they will be all living under one roof. He will visit them at some point, but it's a chance for everyone to sort of explore connections away from the distractions of the real world. And it's like, oh, it's about to be messy, especially for Cam, who has 3 connections that are totally different. It's going to be messy. For people like Kiara, there's going to be worries because Jay apparently has a connection with Sahara that's come out of left field. Anyway, so you have everyone meet up, they go on the same bus. I think the setup in the bus, in regards to who was set up by production, because you had Rose and Angie sitting on their own, whereas Cam was sat next to Sahara. You had Hussein, he was sitting with Rose, and then you had the most awkward situation with Kiara and Jay, because Kiara is still in her feelings because she's just found out about this connection between, you know, Jay and Sahara. She wasn't aware of it, so she wants to know exactly what's going on. Cam is worried because all his 3 connections are going to be under one roof, so he doesn't know how he's going to navigate that. They all arrive at the house. It's massive. It looks like it's in the middle of nowhere. And people run. It's always a scramble because people scramble to get beds. And Tay got the biggest bed or the biggest room. And she offered to share her bed with Cisco. And it's like, make it make sense. Everybody else scrambles for bed. You have Tommy arrive and he reveals that, you know, everyone is going to be there. They're going to get a chance to explore connections. It's going to be uncomfortable. Everybody looks at Cam and laughs because he's the one with the most connections. But anyway, people are going to be exploring connections to see how they're growing. He asks about who got the biggest room and it's revealed it's Tay. And you have Khalil feel some type of way because he knows, okay, Tay and Cisco have had a connection longer, but he's also trying to get in there. So he understands them sharing a room, but at the same time, I think he's looking for his place. He's also got a connection with Deanna. This is how I feel. I feel like because Eddie was drinking and Eddie, because he displayed some sort of challenging behavior for production, this is why Deanna was given 2 other options to explore. I really don't think there's a connection, a romantic connection between her and Khalil. Neither was there one between her and Naeem, because you have Khalil say he's trying to find out where they stand. He's trying to see whether there's something romantic there or whether there is a friendship. And it's like, oh, okay. You have, after everyone has picked their rooms, you have people just sit around and just have conversations and sort of just toast to that, they're together. And then from nowhere, you have Sahara sitting with Jay. The way Jay was sitting, I think production is the one who pushed for that. I think production was the one who pushed for that because Jay seemed very nervous. He did say he was very close with Sahara. He liked her, but he didn't know whether there was anything romantic there. He felt it was more friendship vibes. And personally, I feel it's because production don't want us to know that he and Kiara are locked in. That's the impression that I get. And so you have them sit on this couch, and then Sahara is sort of massaging his leg. After she's finished, she was a bit too close for my comfort. Anyway, Jay then starts massaging her neck, but he was sitting as far away as possible. Kiara walks in, she's not happy. She's not happy at all. Everyone else is giving them a side eye. Even Cam was giving them a side eye because this is not something that was on his bingo card. So he doesn't understand what is going on there and why these people have suddenly become this close. So Rose and Cam, I thought that moment was really cute because they are in Cam's bedroom. They're having a conversation because Rose first of all told Cam and Hussein that you need to rock paper scissors to see who carries my bag upstairs, and Cam just picked up the bag and ran because Cam is saying that Rose is his number one. So they went to Cam's room. She brought him some shirts, and it was really cute that she wanted him to look good. And then she said to him, I know you've got other connections. I also have another connection. So I'm not going to be pulling you and say, no, I don't want you to talk to anyone else because of my connection with you. But at the same time, she was sort of implying that they need to be respectful of one another and make sure that they don't do or say anything that will hurt the other. I really loved that conversation. I saw it there. I saw a connection there. And I think this would be better for Cam. Even Cam was saying, with Rose, it's easy. She could easily slot into his life and things would be amazing. I think the problem with Rose is she's too good to be true, and so unless people get to know the other side of her, that she's hiding away from the cameras, the guys are going to always be sort of standing at arm's length. You then have the guys go out, they're busy playing, it looked like football, while the girls were just sitting around and just watching them, and it was really cute because they were just relaxed. There was no pressure to behave a certain way. The conversation between Angie, Cam, and Hussein was interesting because first off, you had Angie calling out Hussein because she didn't like the comments that he made about her to his friends. And I feel like the guys are just keeping her there just to keep her there. I don't think there is anything romantic either with Hussein or with Cam. I think they're keeping her as a security blanket or as a plan B in case their first option sort of dumps them because they both have Rose, as it seems, as their number one pick. So then they moved on and they started talking about toxic behavior. You had questions like, what do you mean by toxic behavior? And people started saying, bashing somebody's window or throwing a fit and blah, blah, blah. And everybody had different opinions. With Cam, he said he doesn't like toxic behavior because he wants to maintain his peace. He is like me. I do not believe in somebody, disrupting my peace. There is no point in fighting over someone because that doesn't guarantee you that they're going to want you. So what's the point of fighting someone, losing an arm, losing an eye, losing a leg, if only for that person to leave you because they say, I don't want someone who's got a limb that's missing. So what's the point? So I get where Cam was coming from. Cam, once that was said, he stormed off because he was agitated. He couldn't understand why, and he couldn't see where he was coming from. Hussein then moved on and he had a conversation with Rose. It was really sweet. I really loved it. They were sort of talking about toxic behavior and how they manage it. And Rose was saying, I don't like toxic behavior. I don't like, confrontation. And I believe in the 3-strike rule. With Hussein, he was sort of saying that, him it's a one and done. You make a mistake, that's it, we're over. And I actually liked that conversation because they actually had a decent conversation that wasn't confrontational. That was totally the opposite of the conversation between Cam and Angie. So the fact that they were able to discuss conflict management and how they can move forward as a couple, I loved that. You had Kiara and Jay go into their room and close the door because Kiara was very upset. She was upset at the fact that he had sat there and allowed Sahara to behave the way she behaved, and for him to also reciprocate that. She didn't like that. But we didn't get to hear that conversation, and I would have been very curious. Unless production are saving it for later, I would have wanted to hear exactly what was said. That way we can understand what's going on with that connection, because it seems in my opinion, from my observation, that Jay and Kiara are not as perfect as they make themselves out to be, but they have decided to present themselves a certain way in front of the cameras, because every time they want to be toxic, they always have to sort of call each other out, and then they settle down and it's like, oh, okay. So Cam sitting on his own and then Angie coming across and having a conversation, I didn't quite understand the argument. There was no need for all that, because they continued on where they had left off with the toxic behavior. And Angie was saying, I don't see why you're upset. And he said, well, I didn't like the way you handled the situation and the way you said you deal with conflict. And it's like, this is the problem with this couple, in the sense that they seemed more focused on the sort of romantic spark or the sexual attraction and didn't dig deeper. Now they're digging deeper. They're finding holes in their sort of connection and they don't know how to handle that, because Angie was saying to him, oh, it seems like you're looking for an excuse to break us up. That's all it is. It seems like you're looking for an excuse, and so whatever I do or whatever I say, nothing will ever be right. And it's like, well, maybe miss, if you sit down and self-reflect, you will see where the problem is. You can't always be fighting with someone, because he was asking, so if I do something wrong, are you always going to do a tit for a tat? And she couldn't say no. And it's like, this is the problem. If you like to do a tit for a tat and you're trying to deal with someone who doesn't believe in that, then there the problem lies. And maybe you're not compatible. It's time to sort of, go your separate ways. I have a feeling Angie is going to be dumped. You then have Cam go and have a conversation with Sahara. I think Cam likes Sahara as a friend, just the same way that Jay does. But I don't think romantically they see her in that sense. And sadly, her packaging, I'm going to repeat, is not very presentable and very alluring to the people that she's after. And comparing her to somebody else, it just gives, I don't know what sensitive word I can use, but I don't think this is her space. I've said it before, I'll say it again. She deserved to go on Ayana Fix My Life. After she had been there, then she could have come on a show like Ready to Love. At the moment, she's not ready to love. I'm surprised they haven't yet sent her home. So everyone decides to play Jenga, and personally the Jenga didn't make sense, because at one point it seemed like they were removing blocks and then you were to read whatever was on the block, and then you were either truth or dare to do something. You had Angie kiss Sahara. That didn't make sense to me. I don't understand what happened there. And then they had the oldest and the youngest take a shot. We didn't see who the oldest and the youngest were, because there was still back and forth conversation about that. Tia was asked, give your lap dance to your number one. She gave Cisco. Am I surprised? No. Cisco has always been her number one. I think Cisco, had they had more financial security, she wouldn't have entertained anyone else. She would have stuck with him, and that would have been it until the end of the road. You have Cisco sort of saying, he and Tay are doing very well. His goal is to spend as much time with her so that they can grow their connection. Yes, he feels some type of way that Khalil is there, but he has to sort of find time to make time for the two of them. They were really cutesy, making out. They changed. Everybody went to the pool. And there was these back and forth conversations that really didn't make sense. I think they were just trying to look for filler material. And then you had everyone get ready for bed. This is where the drama began, because you had Rose having a conversation with Hussein, because they were sharing a bed. They were very sweet. They promised that they were not going to do anything, or any physical affection, because of the fact that I understand where Rose is coming from, that she's got two connections. She hasn't secured one, so it doesn't make sense for her to sleep with one person while she's still exploring the other person. If she's going to sleep with him, that means she's shutting down Cam completely. And so because she's unsure, I think this is why she didn't want to do that. And I give Hussein credit for respecting that. Jay then goes to bed and Kiara is not feeling it. She's not with it because she's still upset. She feels it crossed boundaries, because it seemed they had conversations before they came out and they agreed that there were certain things they were going to do and certain things they were not going to do. And one of them was, do not disrespect me. And so there was a back and forth argument. It became almost toxic at one point. I think they are always trying to keep appearances. They know how negative edits can sort of affect you after you leave the show. And I think this is why they were very mindful. So you ended up having, Jay go out because Kiara didn't want anything to do with him. in the morning, you had them have breakfast. The girls were making breakfast. And then Gianna and Khalil went and sat down. Gianna and Khalil are both saying we don't know whether we have a friendship or whether we have a romantic connection. So this is what we're trying to suss out. I feel like the two of them don't have any connections. I feel like their connections were dumped, but production really liked them, so they wanted to keep them on the show because they both are in agreement that, they're both very independent. You had him sort of ask Diana, what would you like me to do? And she said to empty the bins and then touch up the paint. And it's like, seriously, is that all you need a man for in your house? She said, everything else I can manage. And it's like, it's one thing to be independent. It's one thing to want just a man for decoration. And that's the impression it was giving. And you could see Khalil was sort of put off by it because he was saying that she needs to allow somebody else to lead. And sadly with Diana, I don't think she wants anyone to lead. I think it has to take a very powerful man or someone she respects very well for her to allow him to lead. At this point, I think they're just going to be friends. Even though they have a lot in common, there's still the question about a romantic connection. Khalil then had a conversation with Jay, and I think Jay really needed this conversation because he couldn't see where Kiara was coming from. So it took Khalil saying, you shouldn't be touchy-feely with somebody else when you have got a strong connection with someone. Oh, but she knew that Sahara was my connection. Yes, she is, but there's a way of behaving. But we were sitting out in public in front of everyone, so there was nothing inappropriate. No. For him to say that with his friends, Jay, that's what he does, it's like you're a red flag. You're a red flag because he couldn't understand when his partner was telling him that what you did is wrong. All it took was Khalil to say a couple of lines and they understood him, which means he doesn't have any respect for his partner, because if he had respect for her, he would have understood what she was trying to say to him. You have everyone lounging by the pools, and then Tommy arrives and he lets them know it's decision time, so he needs to have a conversation with the boys because it's boys' time to make a decision. So they sit down and start talking. Cisco is asked, he said Tay is his number one. She's always been his number one, and he thinks they are doing very well as a couple, so he's happy with where things are going. Jay brings up, the fact that Kiara is upset. She although she knew about the situation with Sahara, she feels some type of way. She feels disrespected. I would feel disrespected as well. It's one thing for you to sit there and have a conversation. It's another thing for someone to be touching your inner thigh and sort of massaging that part. What was she looking for? Anyway, I digress. Cam, he said, all the three connections are getting on his nerves. I think he's upset that with Rose, she's spending more time with Hussein, but he's got two other connections. What does he want her to do? To be hanging around behind him while he's busy chasing the other two girls? I don't get it. He said Sahara is a sweet girl and he sees qualities in her that nobody else sees. I think he and Sahara are friends, and I think he's tried to keep her on the show for as long as possible because he feels sorry for her. That's the impression that I get. I don't think there's anything romantic there, personally. That's my opinion. With Rose, he said she's spending more time with Hussein, so he's not getting as much time with her, which is something that is annoying him, and is going to try and make sure that he gets to spend more time with her. With Angie, he clashed with her, and he's afraid that he's going to make the wrong decision. And it's like, at the end of the day, all three girls are a hot mess. Rose, there's more to her that we're not seeing. And maybe when the cameras go off, that's when he's going to see the real Rose and realize that maybe Angie or Sahara were better. So that's up to him. Khalil was saying, being around the house and seeing Diana work, you see she's very clean, she's very independent, but she's, the other guys, you had Cisco saying she's very standoffish because they were asked, is she exploring, anything with you, and they all said no. So she is an amazing woman. She's independent, she's self-made, but the problem is she hasn't yet found a guy that allows her to let her guard down and just bring out the feminine side of her. That's the impression that I get. I can't wait to see who they dump. My prediction is they're going to dump Diana. That's the impression that I get. They're going to dump Diana, and then the girls next time will dump Khalil because he won't have a connection. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 8. Bye everyone.